Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening for some of you as you might be joining us from. So, welcome to this AFM webinar support for September 2025 exams. My name is Richa, and I work as Education Support Manager at ACCA. So our session today that is on Examiner's Report Unlocked. So our objective here is to provide you an in-depth exploration of the latest March-June 2025 Examiner's Report and uncover strategies to boost your performance. So Zee Kang has joined us today to deliver this session and help explore common pitfalls and share essential technical points with examples. During the session, TK will also guide on how to effectively use available exam practice resources such as marking guides, sample answers, and how to present your exam responses clearly and confidently. So we will also cover some of the live questions which will be coming in from you in Q&A box, and we could see that already the questions have started coming in. I would request you all to start watching the webinar first. Maybe your queries are getting answered there directly. So before I hand things over to TK, I would like to briefly run through a few quick housekeeping items. At the bottom of your screen, there are a number of buttons you can use. Click the help icon for quick access to resources and information in regards to the technical issues which you may have during the session. Make sure the both slide and media player icons are selected, so you will need to view both throughout the webinar. Use chat function to engage with fellow participants, saying hi, hello, sort of, and please avoid sharing any personal information in the chat. Look for the icon that resembles as a file. So clicking on this, that will give you an access to helpful materials which are very much related to today's session, and those materials also include direct links. Feel free to move things around on your screen and resize the windows however you like. And if you cannot hear us or the visuals disappear, just try refreshing your browser once. By registering for this session, you will get an email tomorrow with all the details on how to watch it again. So don't worry if you miss anything or run into any technical issues, you will be able to catch up with the recording later. I'm going to hand over to TK in a moment and we'll be back with you again towards the end of the session. If you would not ask ACC a question, please keep posting them on Q&A box. Just a quick note, we may not be able to respond to everyone directly, either verbally or via chat, but we will do our best to share the questions and answers that are helpful to everyone. So with this, handing over to you, TK.
Thank you very much, Richa. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all who are here today for the AFM September 2025 InFocus webinar. Now, as you may see, the webinar will start leading you to unlock and also to discover the precious information and especially the insight that I have got for you by making use of the examiner's reports, which would have given you solution and answer for many of the doubts that bother you, which I can start seeing in some of the Q&A box. Some of the answer is actually found in the examiner reports, which I will show to you in a moment. My name is TK Chan, or Zee Kang Chan in short. I'm from Malaysia, just like some of you here who are from Asia. And I also see people and students are from Europe and many other parts of Africa who join us today in this session. I'm the expert tutor for PM, FM, APM, and AFM. And I'm here to take you through with the following content. After looking into how are we going to unlocking and find out precious information from the examiner report, I will show you how to make use of the new practice platform effectively to provide you a real experience in how to produce the answer that is convenient and friendly to the marking team to go through and grade your answer in an efficient manner. So I refer this as the marker-friendly answer. And with these, let's keep an eye to take a look at the upcoming exam. Is there any change on the syllabus? With these, it will take us to sharing some of the effective exam technique and strategies that will probably benefit you and giving you some kind of insight and new experiment or experience in further improving the effectiveness of time management and the quality of the answer. Now, let's start looking into what I think it is crucial for students to pick it up and discover from the examiner report, particularly looking for pitfalls that highlighted particularly by the examining and the marking team and drawing the attention to the students, and more importantly, what are the recommendations, suggestions for changes that the examining team and marking team have got for the students. These are all the precious guidance and feedback for you to look for changes for a better performance in the upcoming exam. Therefore, I'm using the most recently released examiner report relating to March-June 25 exam. In particular, the case study, questions 1 in simple, K company. Well, you may have glanced through or you may have attended some of these questions while you're preparing for the September exam to come. Now, clearly, these questions, by turning on the requirement, if you may glance through all the requirements from item 1 to item 6, the entire set of the tasks are to be presented in a report. And that is kind of less common comparing to some of the case study in the past examination, where they do have some of the standalone tasks that is not part of the report. These questions, however, are putting all the tasks to be part of the content in the report. Now, you may also notice that along the list of 6 items of the task, the first 3 tasks are mainly pertaining to numerical tasks, where it contributes nearly half the marks on the technical component. And the other half the mark is purely on narrative in nature. So looking into this 6 list of the tasks, allow me to just pick up one of it, which highlighting in the examiner report what exactly the students have done. Looking into the general comments in the examiner report, talking about what exactly this case study is all about, you will notice that the examiner report directly draw your attentions, telling you the content of the task are mainly coming from the selected section within the syllabus. Looking at the task, if you remember a moment ago, the questions was asking to estimate price to earnings ratio, additional value created from the acquisitions of one company with another company. This is clearly a topic pertaining to merger and acquisition. If you go further on, looking in some of the narrative questions, it may bring in some of the discussions pertaining to sustainability or ethics related matters. So this is where the syllabus is covering in this particular case study. Now, looking into some of the feedbacks and comments given by the examining and the marking team based upon the students' performance, these are the advice that the marking team and examining team is giving and telling the students who are taking the exam in the future. Guys, this is what I meant a moment ago, the precious advice from the examining and the marking team. They're telling us, please spend quality time for you to thoroughly understand what exactly the task is all asking for. More importantly, going through the background, the scenario carefully, picking up the clues, looking for hidden information that you could turn it in to become your answer that is specifically addressing and responding to the task required. So these are the reminders to all students who are preparing for the upcoming exam. If you want to ensure a good quality of your written answer and ensuring your calculation is towards what it is asked, reading. Remember, reading serves the most crucial starting point for planning for your answer, producing your answer with the right quality. Without a thorough reading, without a correct understanding, that would directly affect the relevance of your answer. In other words, bear in mind, looking at the last sentence in this part of the paragraph, students who tempted to just repeatedly highlight whatever information is given in the storyline, chuck it into the answer. I'm afraid this kind of copy and paste answering habit may not give you much of the credit as what mentioned and highlighted in this report. So if you used to have this habit, please stop doing it now. Now, looking into some of the general comments for the general performance of the students in each of these requirements, you will notice that this is what the performance of the students across group in the last exam sitting. Certain performance, certain answers qualities from the students are pretty good, whereas not the other side for some other group of the students. Now, what exactly the students are doing well and badly, if you take a look at the comments or the highlights given by the examining team, students who may got surprises when attempting this case study in that exam sitting, they may feel a little bit surprised, particularly as I mentioned a moment ago, when the entire list of the requirement were packed under the report, which is not quite the same comparing to some of the previous exam paper. Take a look at what examining team have got to say to you. Never take things for granted. Never assume in every subsequent exam sitting the outlook of the questions, particularly in the case study, will be exactly the same like the past. Be prepared to see some slight differences. Well, once you get to know this kind of message from the examining team, at least that will clear your doubts. Do not feel surprises when the pattern of the task look a little different comparing to the past exam. Trust me, these will help to calm your nerves down. Everything is possible. Everything is likely to be appear in this exam paper. With this kind of mindset, that will minimize the sense of surprises that disturb your concentration. So, this is exactly what the first key message I have learned from reading the examiner's report from that. And in terms of the performance for getting the professional skills marks, take a look at the words with red lines. The examining team and the marking team notice performances of the students are generally quite satisfactory, particularly looking at the marks they earn in demonstrating communication skills and analysis and evaluation skills. These are the marks that is pretty impressive that demonstrates by many of the students. Whereas the marks pertaining to skepticism, commercial acumen is something that is showing a bit of concern among the examining team and the marking team. So guys, don't you think this is the warning sign to tell us when you are to prepare yourself for the upcoming exam, please keep an eye on how to improve on your skepticism skills and commercial acumen. Having said so, please watch a YouTube video, which I will share with all in a moment, where exactly you can find this YouTube video showing the students with the proper guidance on demonstrating different types of professional skills to earn all these professional skills marks to the maximum possible. Well, apart from the general comment from the technical aspect and professional skills aspect, if we dive down a little more specific, you shall see in the examiner report, there will be certain specific comments for performances that students has achieved in each and every of the requirement. At the same time, apart from the specific comment on the technical aspect of the performance done by many of the students, you also will found there are further specific comment, especially suggestion for students to improve their performance on getting professional skills marks, which is already mentioned on the general comment a moment ago. Guys, these are the crucial tips telling you how to make changes, how to improve and increasing the quality of your answering technique, particularly narrative of the questions. And this is some things that I saw in the Q&A box. Some of us are asking this kind of question, which I will respond in my own view during the Q&A sessions towards the end of this webinar. Now, this is just a sample showing you how exactly the specific comment pertaining to the performance of the students in one particular requirement looks like. Now, instead of asking you to read through in detail, which you can always do so after the webinar by downloading the whole of the examiner report. Guys, what I want to draw your attention, when you spend time to read the specific comment, you may come across certain attention that drawn from the examining and the marking team, telling all the students who read the report what exactly are the common weaknesses that discovered by the marking team. Take for instance, if you aware what this requirement part 1 was asking, as we mentioned a moment ago, we are asked to estimate the PE ratio, followed by we are asked to derive the additional equity value created, in other words, synergy. You should know familiarly the formulas, the calculation that require to determine the amount of synergy that require most likely the value of equity before and after the acquisition for every entity. And you should know there are several methods and bases to derive the value of equity. PE ratio is just one of it. Discounted cash flow approach using free cash flow is another one of it. Looking at these comments, this is clearly telling you, the questions is hinting you may want to use the free cash flow valuation model to derive the equity value. However, certain common mistakes and weaknesses were found among the marketing team. Read this sentence carefully, pick up what exactly are the common pitfalls that demonstrate by many students. And guys, if this happened to others, it could also happen to you. So after reading through, make sure do not let this happen on you in the upcoming exam should the similar task is required. Obviously, the marking team is also giving a thumbs up to those students who did well in certain part of the performance, like the calculations of the PE, the calculations of the present value with a perpetuity of the cash flow with the constant growth. These are the calculations that based on a very straightforward formula, as long as you are able to put in the data, the figure correctly alongside with the formula, you should be able to derive the figure easily by using the functionality in the response option. And once we understand how exactly and how useful the examiner report has told us, it's time for me to take you through about how are we to practice all the past exam papers and how do we demonstrate the room for improvement that's suggested in the examiner report onto our own practices. Ideally, your practice of the past exam paper should be done directly onto the practice platform, particularly the newly designed one. I'm sure every one of you, or most of you at least, would have given a try by attempting some of the questions in this newly designed practice platform. Now, allow me to just take you through on some of the highlights that I would like to draw to your attentions, particularly in the process of reviewing, assessing your own answer. In other words, how are you to mark your answer after attempting a set of questions in the practice platform? I understand some of the students would say, I may not want to waste too much of time for me as a student to go through the marking process in the platform. Guys, my personal advice to you, these are the processes that the marking team will be going through in assessing your script. In order for you to further appreciate what exactly and how important to ensure your presentation of answer is of marker friendly, I think the best way is for you to go through and experience yourself the processes that what all the marker are going through in assessing and grading your answer. After going through a round or a few rounds of the assessment exercise, by going through this process, which I will highlight to you in a moment, you surely would further appreciate and better understand why is that tutor like us keep emphasizing to all the students to make sure the way you present your answer for both the calculation and the narrative need to be of as marker friendly as possible. Because if the students' answer are not marker friendly, going through these processes in grading your script could be a nightmare for the marking team. If the marker do not seize the convenience and the great cooperations from the student's viewpoint in presenting the answer that make the markers' marking processes easy, don't you think that somehow would affect by increasing the difficulty level for the marking team to try understand your answer in grading the marks to help you to pass the exam? So here comes the processes of marking and grading your own answer that attempted in the practice platform. First and foremost, once you have attempted an answer for a set of paper or a question, make sure you have to end the exam. Then you have to come out to the main page. Then you will have to select mark exam option. So this is exactly how the screenshot will look like when you choose to end the exam. Once you have ended, the screen will go back to the main page, like what you see here. And you may also notice that on the bottom left, I have attempted the March-June 25 exams and I have ended it. So once I ended, you take a look at what exactly is shown on the box in red color. It shows as marked exam. Now, before I turn to the next slides, if you take a look at the right-hand side of the box, what do you notice? It is the same exam sitting, but then the words in the red box show start. So what does it mean? Students are allowed to attempt multiple times on the same set of exam paper at different point of time. You may have attempted this paper much earlier and you want to mark your first version of answer. After marking, you learn the way to improve and to avoid pitfalls. When you re-attempt again, you can go back and reassign the same set of questions for you to attempt again. That's how you look for the room for improvements. Now, let me show you how exactly this new functionality in the marking process will go and take place in this new practice platform. Once you click Mark Exam, this is a screen that you will get into. So you will first need to notice on this particular screen, at the left-hand side, when you click on that arrow sign, the entire model answer will be displayed on the left-hand side. So this is to enlarge and open up the whole set of the model answer, including the marking scheme. So after clicking on the arrow sign, this is exactly what I meant. And if you go further, you will notice that this whole set of the model answer will found when you click onto sample answer right at the top. And with these, you can therefore scroll on all the following pages with these two arrow signs that show to you on the left and the right. Then, turn all the way back to the end. You will see the marking scheme. Guys, are you using the marking scheme when you are reviewing your own answer, when you are grading your own answer? My personal advice to all, make sure you make full use of this marking scheme. That provide you a very good sense of how marker grade, how marker assign the marks to the student. And this is useful when you are about to go through the marking exercise for your own answer. So what happened? After looking at the model answer and the marking scheme, this is just one of the illustration. I have given a demo back in my real exam screen. I have attempted to put something in my words file, word processor response option. I also have put something in my spreadsheet response option. When I turn to my answer, you could see on the left-hand side at the top, that is a word answer 1 in red color. This is coming from my word processor response option. At the right-hand side, answer 2, it's from the spreadsheet response function. So whatever I type in my practice platform, it will display in this manner. So how am I starting to grade and assign the mark for my answer? Firstly, I will have to ensure I am telling the system, I am now grading my questions 1. And then if you want to check the figure, you want to check the content of the narration, please refer to the marking guide, which is the sample answer that you saw a moment ago. Followed by, do not forget to turn on and activate tick marking, which you can see on the top right. So this allows you to decide how many marks that you would like to assign per tick. Most commonly, it is either 0.5, 1, or 2 marks per tick. So once you have selected the marks per tick, you will then go into the body and the content of your answer, looking at every sentence, every paragraph. If you found a sentence that comes with facts, that come with content that match to the model answer, and you would like to assign a mark on this, you just go to drag your cursor, highlight the sentence, and then the mark will automatically assign like the green color. In this case, I have selected on 1 mark, and therefore each sentence I highlighted, it automatically would appear as a tick 1. Once I have a tick on this, I will have to tell the system, this particular mark is relating to, if you look at the right-hand side, part 1 of questions 1. So make sure the red color tick must be there. Then this mark will automatically assign to part 1 of these questions. So this is exactly what I meant here. When you look at the marks that I assign to my sentence, the 1 mark is coming from the selection of the mark I have picked at the beginning. And once I have assigned a tick on this, you will notice the marks will automatically be added. Do you notice, guys? The earlier one that you saw was my words processor response option. This is now answer 2, which is in my spreadsheet response option. So in my spreadsheet, I'm still answering part B1. And when I answer my B1, I decided to assign a mark of 2, let's say, for myself. So I therefore will go back to my formula or the figure. I click on this cell and there will be a tick. Each tick carry 2 marks because I select 2 as my grading scale. Now you will notice once these marks are assigned to each of the tick, guys, you will notice that all these marks will automatically aggregated. All these marks will be summed together and appear straight away in the box right at the right-hand side. And all these marks that you assign to part B1, B2, B3, or A1, A2, A3, they will all add up together to show you the total score that you would have earned in this exercise. Now, it is quite common. Should students once assign a mark, after a while, they come back and they think, I shouldn't have gotten this mark, or I should have gotten more marks than what I have assigned. So many students have no idea how to go back and change the mark which they have assigned. Take a look at the instructions over here. What you have to do, go back to the tick and put a left click on it. You will then see a screen that turn up to be a statement or a questions that ask you at the top. Once you press OK, the mark that you assigned originally will be gone. You are then allowed to assign a new marks that you think it is a fairer one. Guys, what do you think about the marking processes? Do you love it? Do you like it? Do you think it is easy to mark, or do you think it is time consuming to mark? I suppose there's no one answer. The answers that I have in everyone's mind is a mix. Some will think it is easy, some will think it is cumbersome. Guys, that is the whole idea for you to go through and experience the whole marking process that the marking team are going through with thousands of scripts. If you like this, or if you don't like this, you should have a better idea how to present your answer when the marking team turn onto this screen to mark your script, how to make your answer as easy as possible for the marker to straight away detect your figure or detecting your key point in the sentence and straight away give you a tick. That is something which I feel as a student is an exercise. You do not need to go through this exercise for every sitting of the paper that you attempt. But at least if you attempt the mock, the past exam paper, at least you experience this exercise for 1 or 2 rounds. Trust me, you will have a different experience, you will have a different thought in your answering technique. If you want to know more about the functionality and the way to go further in marking and grading the script on the practice platform, guys, coming back to this screen in the ACCA login, you will find there is a short video that demonstrating the whole of the marking processes by clicking into this item, where there's a video shown on the way for you to do the marking processes. As I say, that is something which make you will think from the marker viewpoint even better. Guys, here comes the next update to you. Is there any change in the upcoming exam in terms of the syllabus comparing to the last 1 year of the exam syllabus? And the answer is a good news for all. There isn't much changed on the syllabus content for AFM in the upcoming exam, not only for September, but the upcoming syllabus will be applicable for September 25 right up to June exam 2026. So everything remains status quo in terms of exam and syllabus. I would like to now spend some time to share with you, knowing how the mechanism of exam papers looks like, looking at how examiner reports provide useful guide to us. How are we going to write and take advantage with all these valuable feedback and input to us? Well, this is the time that I would like to share with you. How do I blend in all these suggestions and feedback from the examining and marking team to reflect onto my exam strategies and answering technique? And if you go through the suggestions that I'm sharing with you in a moment, before I show you the next screen, if you like it, my suggestion is after this webinar, you have the next 2-3 weeks to go before the exam. Make use of at least 2 or 3 sets of exam paper, including the pre-mock exam. Why not give a try on at least 2 to 3 sets of exam paper by practicing, by demonstrating some of these tactics, some of the strategy that I'm about to share with you. You will see sign of improvements. I always believe this, particularly students who have attempted the exam in the past but wasn't successful. If you want to come back, if you want to turn things around, you've got to change. And to me, the more changes that you make through, the more chances, the more hope for you to turn things around. So if you want to get some idea what kind of changes that you are supposed to look for, guys, here are some of my tips for you. Rule number 1, if you want to get a whole set of exam strategy and advices, the answer is already found in this list of the learning resources. Particularly, go and click onto exam technique under AFM. You will see ranges of videos. As I mentioned a moment ago, the video talk about the way to narrate your answer, to grab hold of the professional skills that we mentioned, and the way to plan for your answer layout. And they also have documents and articles that are written by the examining team. Have you gone through those? Trust me, if you have gone through all these resources in this exam technique, you surely would have gained a lot of insight and new idea to improve and to change the current way of your way of doing things in exam. On my end, what kind of advice do I give? In simple, I will always tell the students, if you would like to pass your exam with flying colors, start thinking from 3 aspects. From the left, you got to have a sound exam strategy. You got to know your game plans by making use of the time, the 3 hours. What do you want to do with the 3 hours? How many minutes that you will assign and allocate to every mark of the questions? Now, I'm sure that if you have watched the video that I mentioned in the exam technique, they already have some sharing regarding time allocation and time management. So this is something that I call strategy. Second, your mindset, your attitude. I always advise the students, when you would like to get a passing exam, please make sure your mindset is focusing on your process. Do not get yourself overly worried on your outcome. The more you concern about your outcome, trust me, the more that you may be far away from getting what you want. Process is right. Outcome is right naturally. So keep focusing on every single step of work that you do in exam. Don't worry too much about, do I get a pass? Or would I fail again? That is not something that is beneficial for you to worry. Your mindset should focus on processes. Coming to the third one, your habits. Now, what exactly is the habit I'm talking about? Well, these are some of the demonstrations regarding the answering habit. Now, I would suggest the students, right from the step one, when you turn on the requirement, I think it is kind of common that many tutors would have told you, copy the entire set of requirement, put it into your word processor response option, and start segregating and identify the arrangements clearly. Should all this requirement, like what you saw in the moment ago on the questions one, are supposed to be in the report format, immediately, without even looking at the exhibit, you already should start creating the pro forma of the report. Report to who, from who, date, subject matter, and then don't forget creating the main heading on the body of the report. Introduction, the body of the answer, which is A1, A2, A3, B1, B2, B3. Last but not least, do not forget to end your report with a conclusion. If you read the examiner report, the examining team highlighted the student just wasted a mark by not showing conclusion in the report. That are all the tips for you to earn easy marks on especially communication skills mark in the professional skills. Once you have copied the requirement and set up the templates ready, you would then identify the verb in each of the tasks carefully. The verb will follow by the answer, the task that you're supposed to respond. A moment ago, when you saw part one, the questions was asking estimate. Estimate what? Estimate the PE ratio. And then if you read further, there's a word and, A-N-D. Keep an eye on the end, because after that, it is likely that you have another task to be responded. True enough, part one, apart from estimating the PE ratio, you are required to estimate additional equity value created, which is a synergy. You need to respond the two of these values. So this is exactly what I meant. Identify the verb and the task. Make sure you put up the task as the heading in your response option. How are you to generate your idea? How are you supposed to generate your calculation? What are you supposed to write in your answer? You need to read the story. So step 3 is where you read your story in the exhibit. Guys, in AFM, the storyline in exhibit 1 is a generic one. Generic means information that found in exhibit 1 is likely and possible to be relating when you respond your answer for the rest of the requirement. There is more than one place that you may want to refer back to exhibit 1. So you may want to think about cropping. Copy the whole of the exhibit 1, put it into your word processor, tentatively. Put it at the top so that you do not need to open too many windows within the size and the limitations of the screen. Try to always make sure within the computer screen, you should only manage with 2 windows. On the left or the other side of it, you only open the window for exhibit 2 or exhibit 3, the specific exhibit that provide you all the figures. for you to respond a particular requirement. So if Exhibit 2 or Exhibit 3 is appeared on one side, the other side is supposed to be your response option, either word processor or spreadsheet. So this is how I manage my screen, by not having more than two. So how do you make sure your Exhibit 1 is always in your eyesight? And to me, the best place is to put it into your word processor. Put it at the top. Once you have made use of the clue in the Exhibit 1, you may just want to remove it. You may just want to delete off and make up your answer to be a clean one. So this is how I do things as my habit. And I will do the same for the rest of the questions. So guys, go through this step. If you like it, try to apply and rehearse these a few times. You will see that your time management will improve a lot. You will focus much better, looking at the right sort of information to produce and reflect onto your answer. So this is what I meant by good and rational habit. So guys, I would like to spare the rest of the time now to take on to your questions at this moment. So I'm now looking at the Q&A box. I have the first questions that ask about the tips for preparing the report. Remember, as I've mentioned a moment ago, rule number 1, make sure you've got to have an idea about the standard pro forma of the report. If you want to know what exactly it looks like, you can either refer to the model answer, especially reading the suggestions from the examiner report, which I have mentioned a moment ago. One more time, the report should always come with to, from, date, read, or subject matter. Within this scope, do not forget about the main heading in the body of the report, starting with introduction. What are you supposed to cover in the introduction? You're supposed to provide a bird's eye view to the reader, telling the reader what exactly the report is covered. The report is firstly to address the estimation on the equity value and the synergy on the takeover, say for instance. Then the report will go on to talk about the assessment, the recommendation for the decision. This is what the reports cover. After the intro, you put down each of the requirement with the numbering clearly inside the body of the report. Are you responding part 1? If part 1, please put a 1 beside the report. Are you responding to 2? So when the marking team mark your script in your report, they can see which part of your answer are you responding to part 1 of the requirement, which part of it is responding to part 2 of the requirement. Last but not least, guys, don't forget to put down your conclusion. You won't believe it. Conclusion alone just take 1 mark in the professional skills. What are you supposed to write in the conclusion? Well, it's simple. You just got to wrap up whatever you have said. Take, for instance, merger and acquisition. Your conclusions can end up being, in summary, the offer price of the takeover should range from this figure to another figure that you found from the above. You just extract the figure and put it down. In summary, the offer price should be so much with the expected synergy of so much. However, in order to make the final decision, the management may want to consider the negative impact the issue on the ESG, say for instance. Try to write your conclusion in such a way it is an open end. Think of this. I repeat, try to write your conclusion in such a way you do not say it is a yes, it is a no of your answer. You tell the marketing team, it depends. This is how it shows professional skills in terms of skepticism, in terms of commercial acumen, because you know it is not as easy as you thought in reality to draw a straightforward conclusion without looking at a few other things. This is how you earn those professional skills marks easily. Guys, go back to read the Marcus Mind document in the list of the resources from the ACCA website. That document would have given you a sample how marker grade a script of the students in terms of technical marks and professional skills marks. Guys, that is an eye-opening experience to all in the marking processes. And you will then truly believe everything that we mentioned a moment ago. Now, the other questions I have in the Q&A box. How are we supposed to prepare ourselves for the topic like the one you saw just now? Merger and acquisition is a big topic. Reconstruction is a big topic. And these big topics are messy. Messy in the sense there are many formulas we have to learn. The calculation is unstructured. The way we narrate our answer is unstructured. So how are we supposed to prepare such an unstructured topic? Well, in the absence of the time, what I can share with you at this moment with a very short period of time, my suggestion is simple. When you are dealing with a topic or a subject matter that is unstructured, make sure you must establish a structure based on your own logical thinking. I say again, not necessary you must follow the books or you must follow advices from the tutor, including me. You need to have a trust in yourself. Every one of you would have your logical thinking. You have your own flow of thinking. Like me, how am I preparing? How am I studying, let's say, the topic of M&A? I have to first tell myself, what exactly is merger and acquisition all about? It is about the marriage of two entities. Then you could ask yourself, why are these two entities wanting to get married? There must be some kind of mutual benefit that these entities will be getting after the marriage life. And the mutual benefit is called synergy. So then I will start focusing on okay, let's learn about synergy in terms of the sources of synergy, the way to estimate the synergy. When you pull up the term synergy, naturally, you will need to link up to the calculations on deriving the value of equity for each entity before and after the acquisition. So when you want to touch on the derivation of the value of equity, you have to naturally think about how do we derive the value of equity. These lead you to ranges of techniques, basis for valuation. Are we using non-discounted cash flow technique such as PE ratio, such as asset-based as the valuation technique, or are we using the more common one, the discounted cash flow technique based upon free cash flow? And then is it a free cash flow to firm or free cash flow to equity? Guys, not to mention all, do you see? I have just demonstrated you my logical thinking to build my hierarchy of the knowledge level after level. So once you see the logical sequence, there's no need for you to memorize because one component of the knowledge naturally will trigger the next component of the knowledge together. And when you start understanding the logic of the formula and the calculation, I tell you, the topic of M&A, the topic of reconstruction is just within your palm. Everything is under your control. Same thing applied to reconstruction. If you were to spend your time to watch a topic explainer video in the ACCA website under AFM, there was one topic explainer video on reconstruction. Take a look at how the tutor delivered the topic of reconstruction. Let's take a look at how reconstruction exercises are being classified. Each and every types of reconstruction represent a change in something in an organization. You have to then ask, why is this organization wanting to change on these things? So this will tell you the reason, the rationale of each type of reconstruction. When a business is undergoing a reconstruction, as we say, something must have changed, including values, including performance in the future. So this is again where calculations comes in, and that naturally bring in formulas, approaches, models that you have to apply to forecast. Take for instance WACC, not to mention the forecast, the value of equity, forecasting of profit after tax, forecasting of PE ratio, forecasting of gearing ratio. So these are the calculations that naturally hook up with reconstruction exercise. So again, don't forget to watch the topic explainer video to answer further on the questions that some of you were asking, how to deal with this kind of unstructured topic, which I have just shared a few tips with all. Now let's take a look at another question. How long should I put my sentence to earn a mark when I am marking my own script? Well, there is no definite answer to say how many words count that you must fulfill in order to make up a complete sentence to earn a mark. But the bottom line must be, when you want to narrate a point to earn a mark, my suggestions to you, every one of you, every point you want to narrate, try to come up with a heading, telling the marking team, what are you narrating? Take for instance, some of you asked me another questions, which I want to answer all those questions at one shot. If the question asks you to talk about the pro and cons on the exchange-traded hedging technique as comparing to tailor-to-need hedging technique, is this kind of questions common and frequently tested? Yes, it is. First and foremost, if the question asked, compare the use of exchange-traded hedging technique as opposed to tailor-to-need, as opposed to over-the-counter hedging technique. If you read between the lines, the message is, whoever the company is, the management of that company is in favor of using the former rather than the latter. So the way you narrate and articulate, many students will still think about the question asks us to evaluate the uses of exchange-traded technique as comparing to the tailor-to-need. Many students will have this impression, let's list out the pro and cons in two columns. On one column, it is exchange-traded. On the other column, it is tailor-to-need. Guys, did you answer the questions? I'm afraid you're not answering the questions. The questions is asking you, if I chose to use the exchange-traded hedging technique as compared to tailor-to-need, you are supposed to tell me, when I chose to use exchange-traded hedging technique comparing to the tailor-to-need, what's so good about this? What's so good about this? The availability, the choices of the hedging technique is much more easily accessible in exchange-traded market comparing to tailor-to-need, which is more niche. So that is a good thing by using and choosing exchange-traded. So my heading will be easily accessible or high accessibility. So when I have high accessibility as my heading, I got to articulate, what do you mean by that? I would suggest a minimum articulation on a fully developed point will at least take you 2 sentences. How would you be able to fully develop an explanation with 1 sentence? I doubt so. My suggestion, 2 sentences. In other words, 2 full stop. At least you tell me what is this, and then you go further on. So a 2 sentence of the paragraph would be probably good enough to fully articulate and fully develop an answer that worth 1 mark. So go by this kind of mindset that will allow you to develop a fully developed narrative answer to earn 1 mark, remember. Anyway, that would be my answer for one of the questions. Okay, let me just take on 2 more questions over here before we pass the floor to Richard. Is it a good approach to revise the concept at the time of solving the answer? Like I open the answer promptly while doing the question? Well, one of the purpose for you to practice the exam questions in the practice platform is helping yourself to identify knowledge gap. But I would not suggest a student, when you compare and you grade your answer compared to the model, some figure gets stuck. Let's say, for example, you have no idea how to get the revised earnings so that you can put it into the calculations of PE ratio. When you forgot about the calculations of revised earning after checking with the model answer, what do? Are you referring back to your book? Are you referring back to your notes? My suggestions for you, don't do that. Write it down. Write it down. What are the knowledge gap? When you go through the marking process of your script, your own script, write it down until you have finished marking the whole questions. Then only you go back to revise the whole of the topic one shot. Do not do things in a piecemeal manner. You do things in piecemeal manner, you couldn't see the big picture in AFM. When you learn this subject with a microscope, the more you learn, the more you get yourself disturbed, and the more you get yourself disappointed and frustrated because you couldn't see the whole pictures out of it. Whoever that are able to prepare and revise your AFM from a bird's eye view, trust me, preparing and passing AFM is not something beyond your reach. The secret is all about the altitude of the way you see things. Try to see on the bird's eye view. That is how you develop your logical thinking. Now, perhaps I can take on the last questions before I pass the floor back. How to better construct my answer as a professional? Well, that is an easy question to answer. You may want to spend time to watch the video, as I mentioned a moment ago, in the exam technique. You definitely will get a lot of insight telling you how to improve both the numerical answer and the narrative answer for getting a lot of easy mark from the marking team. Well, I think time is running out already. I hope that I have tried to answer as many questions as I can from the floor. So from now, I will pass the floor back to Richard. Over to you, Richard.
Thank you, TK. Thank you so much. I believe students have found the session useful and they have maximum of their queries answered as well. We have been able to cover the questions well in time. That is great. Thank you so much. And moving further, before I close, I would like to play a quick poll for you all. So here is the poll for you. It should be there on your screen. If you can just answer quickly this for me, that if you have any knowledge on pre-September 2025 mock and debrief dates. Options are here: 9th August, 8th August and 16th August, 8th August and 15th August, or you have no idea. So just let me know. And I can see the polling has just started, and we'll give you a few seconds for this. So whatever you mark is just an answer. Don't think it is going to be right or wrong. It's okay even to mark the wrong one if you don't know, because we are here to let you know about it. Some more polls I would request. Okay, great. Depending on the number of students joining us, I am looking forward to some more quick answers, please. Thank you. With the countdown of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I will move to the next slide to show me the answers. Oh, great. So maximum of you are mentioning that 8th August and 15th August is the date for September 25 mock and debriefs. So that's correct. We have these dates for the debriefs and the mocks. Mocks are already live on the practice platform today for you, and debriefs will be there on ACCA Student Study Resources YouTube channel. So you can check it out there. We have all the links available in the resource section for yourself. And with this, I will not forget to again remind you all with the most 3 important resources which you can make use of while doing your exam preparations, and that is practice platform, which we have talked a lot about it today. You have seen that how you are accessing mock, how you are accessing marking guides there when you are done with the mocks, and how you are able to mark it for yourself. Here, marking meant that if you see the marking guide, you will understand that what important points you were supposed to include in your answers, whether you have included all those important points in your answer or not. So just try to do all these exercises when you do exam practice on the practice platform. Other than this, we have Study Resources YouTube channel. So that is there with all the exam playlists available. You will get topic explainers, you will get debriefs, which I am talking about. You will get the recording of this webinar as well as a few more important webinars that have happened in the past. And we have ACCA Study Hub. That's one place where you will get all the syllabus related, exam syllabus related, chapter wise details of your paper, and also do the practice of the questions there as well. So with this, thank you so much everyone for being here with us. And as I said, you must have found this session very useful for yourself. And if you have registered for this webinar today, like the way you are here, you will be getting an email tomorrow with the link to understand that how you can see the recording of this session again. And a big thank you to each one of you. Thank you to TK for supporting us with AFM paper, and a special shout out to the team who is working behind the scenes to help make this session run smoothly. So with this, wish you all the very best for your exams. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Good luck to all.